What if Hollywood's biggest heartthrob wasn't calling the shots in his own love life? Tom Cruise has it all: fame, fortune, and a legacy that spans decades. But behind the blockbuster hits and dazzling red carpet smiles lies a personal life full of failed marriages, lost love, and a disturbing pattern that fans can't ignore. 3 high-profile marriages, countless romances, all ending in heartbreak. And at the center of it all, a powerful, controversial organization that many believe has shaped, and even controlled, his most intimate decisions. Some call it a religion, others, a cult. But whatever it is, its grip on Cruise's life has been impossible to ignore. This isn't just a story about love gone wrong. It's about how one of the world's most famous men may have sacrificed everything for something he believed in. And once you hear what's been revealed, you'll never see him the same again. The rise of a heartthrob. Before Tom Cruise became the face of Hollywood's biggest blockbusters, he was just a young actor trying to make a name for himself in the early 80s. His career started with small supporting roles, but it didn't take long for his intense ambition and raw talent to shine through. Everything changed in 1986 when Top Gun hit theaters. Overnight, Cruise transformed into an international sensation, the kind of star who could make a single smile or one-liner iconic. Women across the world swooned over his boyish charm, and the media couldn't get enough of him. During this whirlwind rise to fame, Cruise's love life was just as fast-moving. In the 80s, he was linked to several high-profile women, but one relationship stood out. Surprisingly, Cruise dated none other than pop legend Cher. They first crossed paths at a celebrity wedding and later connected again at an event for people with dyslexia, something they both struggled with. Cher would later describe Cruise as one of her top lovers, but the relationship was short-lived. Even after their split, the two remained friends. The first marriage, Mimi Rogers, and the introduction to Scientology. In 1987, Tom Cruise shocked fans by marrying actress Mimi Rogers. At the time, she was older, more experienced in the industry, and deeply involved in a mysterious organization few outside Hollywood knew much about, Scientology. What began as a seemingly normal celebrity marriage quickly took a sharp turn into something far more complex. Mimi wasn't just a member of the Church of Scientology, she was an auditor, someone trained to guide others through the church's controversial process of clearing the mind of trauma. And according to multiple reports, she was the one who introduced Cruise to the church. Cruise later credited Scientology with curing his dyslexia, a lifelong struggle he'd battled in silence. He claimed its practices gave him mental clarity and control he'd never had before. That belief quickly grew into full-blown devotion. But while Cruise was falling deeper into the church, his marriage to Mimi Rogers quietly unraveled. By 1990, just 3 years in, the couple had divorced, with little explanation. Still, something had changed permanently. Cruise didn't just walk away with memories of a failed marriage, he walked away with a new belief system that would come to define him. From that point forward, Scientology wasn't just part of his life, it was fused to his identity. And as we'll soon see, anyone who got close to him would have to face it too. Coming up, enter Nicole Kidman, a new marriage, adopted children, and the first real signs of how far the church's influence could go. Nicole Kidman, love, adoption, and a sudden rift. Tom Cruise met Nicole Kidman on the set of Days of Thunder in 1989, and sparks flew almost instantly. By Christmas Eve of 1990, they were married, two of Hollywood's brightest stars forming what looked like a picture-perfect power couple. They weren't just glamorous, they were magnetic. And for a while, it truly seemed like Cruise had found his match. The couple adopted 2 children, Isabella and Connor, and starred together in major films like Far and Away and the infamous Eyes Wide Shut. To the world, they were untouchable. But behind the scenes, something was quietly shifting. Despite their fairy tale image, the tension began to build, especially as Cruise's devotion to Scientology grew deeper. While Kidman had some initial involvement in the church through her husband, she reportedly never fully embraced its teachings. That difference would prove to be more than just personal, it would be pivotal. In 2001, after over a decade of marriage, a spokesperson for the couple abruptly announced their split. Cruise filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. The public was stunned. But what happened next was even more unsettling. Their adopted children, who had been raised under Cruise's roof, chose to live with him, and fully commit to Scientology. Kidman, on the other hand, was slowly pushed to the sidelines. Years later, reports surfaced that Isabella had referred to Nicole as a suppressive person, a term Scientology uses to label those who challenge or reject its beliefs. The emotional cost was devastating. Kidman was not only cut out of her children's lives but essentially erased from their world altogether. She once described the aftermath of the divorce as a void, and it became increasingly clear that this was more than just a breakup. It was the beginning of a divide between Cruz's personal life and the outside world, a divide orchestrated, many believe, by the church itself. But if Kidman was quietly pushed away, the next woman in Cruz's life would find herself pulled into something even darker. The Additions, Scientology allegedly handpicks Cruz's partners. After his divorce from Nicole Kidman, Tom Cruise briefly dated actress Penelope Cruz. Their relationship lasted about 3 years, but behind the scenes, something unusual was brewing, something that would later be exposed in one of the most shocking reports about Cruz and the Church of Scientology. Around this time, insiders claim Cruz was becoming more distant from Scientology, and that, according to reports, didn't sit well with church leadership. So instead of letting him choose his next partner naturally, they allegedly took matters into their own hands. According to a now infamous Vanity Fair exposé, Scientology leaders organized secret auditions to find Cruz a new girlfriend, someone not only attractive but also loyal to the church. Women were reportedly brought in under the guise of casting calls and asked personal questions about their lives, values, and willingness to dedicate themselves to Scientology, and Tom. One of those women was British-Iranian actress Nazanin Boniadi. She was young, talented, and a devout Scientologist at the time. For a brief period, she was placed into a relationship with Cruz, but things quickly fell apart. Boniadi later claimed she was micromanaged during the relationship, told what to wear, how to behave, and even disciplined by the church when she displeased him. The relationship ended abruptly, and shortly after, Boniadi left the church entirely. Years later, she shared her story in the Going Clear documentary and even provided testimony to the FBI during an investigation into Scientology's inner workings. When Vanity Fair published the story, Cruz and the church both denied the allegations and threatened legal action. But the damage was done. The world had gotten a rare glimpse into the level of control the church allegedly had over his private life, and the image of a man choosing love for himself started to crack. Up next was the most public relationship of his life, one that started with a jump on Oprah's couch, and ended with an escape plan that caught even Cruz off guard. Tomcat, public love, private control. By the mid-2000s, Tom Cruise's career was still on fire, but his personal life took a turn that no one could have predicted. Enter Katie Holmes. The fresh-faced actress had once called Cruise her childhood crush, but in 2005, fantasy became reality. The couple went public in a whirlwind romance that had the tabloids spinning and fans obsessing. And then came the moment that would define the relationship in pop culture history: Cruise jumping on Oprah's couch, shouting his love for Katie to the world. It was loud, bold, and unforgettable. But behind the over-the-top gestures was something far more calculated. Within a year, Katie gave birth to their daughter, Suri, and the couple married in a lavish Italian ceremony, not just any wedding, but one heavily steeped in Scientology rituals. Leaders of the church were in attendance, and rumors swirled that the entire relationship had been orchestrated by the organization. Many speculated it wasn't just a romance, it was a PR campaign wrapped in spiritual strings. The media dubbed them Tomcat, and to outsiders, they looked like the perfect Hollywood match. But Holmes, who had once seemed smitten, began to change. Insiders claimed she became more withdrawn, more cautious, and increasingly protective of her daughter. Then, in 2012, without warning, Katie Holmes filed for divorce. She did it quietly, strategically, and completely out of Tom's reach. Reports say she used burner phones, changed lawyers in secret, and even moved into a new apartment in the dead of night, all to avoid interference from Scientology. When the dust settled, the reason became clear: Holmes was allegedly trying to shield Suri from the church's influence. The couple's daughter had been raised without full immersion in Scientology, and Katie reportedly feared what would happen if that changed. And if Katie Holmes had to run to protect her child, what does that say about the kind of power Scientology holds, even over one of the most powerful men in Hollywood? What follows is even more chilling: isolation, estrangement, and a loyalty so intense it may have cost him everything that ever truly mattered. Isolation and influence, the church's grip on Cruise. By now, one thing is clear. Tom Cruise's loyalty to Scientology hasn't just shaped his public image. It's rewritten the script of his personal life. And as the years rolled on, that loyalty became more intense and more isolating. Following his split from Katie Holmes, Cruise seemed to retreat further into the inner circle of Scientology. Not only did his contact with Suri vanish from the public eye, but reports suggest he hasn't seen or spoken to her in years, all allegedly due to her not being part of the church. Sources claim that because Suri isn't a Scientologist, Cruise was pressured, or perhaps even ordered, to cut ties completely. And it doesn't stop there. Former members of the church say Cruise isn't just a follower, he's treated like royalty within Scientology's ranks. Leader David Miscavige is said to consider Cruise the ultimate poster boy, the ideal example of what Scientology can create. Some insiders even claim the church controls aspects of Cruise's life far beyond religion, including his romantic partners, friendships, and even his legal and business decisions. Multiple ex-Scientologists have come forward alleging the church isolates its high-profile members from anyone considered a threat to their belief system. And Cruise? He appears to be the most protected, and most controlled, of them all. Despite intense media scrutiny and growing backlash, Cruise has remained fiercely defensive of Scientology. He's lobbied for the church to be recognized as a religion in Europe, tried to recruit fellow celebrities into the faith, and dismissed criticism as bigotry. To his followers, he's a hero. But to those on the outside, he looks more like a man trapped in a system that dictates who he can love, trust, or even keep in his life. Today, Cruise continues to star in billion-dollar films, perform his own death-defying stunts, and dominate the box office. But off-screen, the image is far more tragic. A father who doesn't see his daughter, a man with 3 failed marriages, and someone whose deepest personal choices may never have been entirely his own. And it all leads to one haunting truth: when loyalty demands total control, freedom becomes an illusion. But there's one final question that still lingers, and it may be the most painful of all. Was love ever his to choose? Tom Cruise's life reads like a Hollywood blockbuster, full of glamour, high stakes, and dramatic twists. But behind the spotlight and box office hits lies a story shadowed by heartbreak, control, and sacrifice. 3 marriages, countless relationships, and a devotion to Scientology that seems to have shaped every personal decision he's made. Was his love ever truly his own? Or was it a carefully scripted part of a larger narrative, one dictated by a powerful organization with its own agenda? From arranged partners to estranged children, the lines between choice and control blur more with every chapter. Cruise remains one of the world's biggest movie stars, a symbol of talent and perseverance. Yet his personal life suggests a man caught between his own desires and a force that demands unwavering loyalty above all else. It's a story that leaves us wondering, how much freedom does fame really buy, and at what cost? As the curtain falls, we're left with more questions than answers, and a haunting reflection on the price of celebrity in the shadow of influence. What do you think? Is Tom Cruise the star of his own story, or just a character playing a role written by others?